Following the body line, what I would like you to do is work towards going to a work period. Work period means essentially I'm not giving you reps or sets or rest times. You're simply going to go back and forth between usually what are two exercises, and you're going to do that for a period of time, just getting as much work in as you can, resting as needed. So I want you to work now, again, within yourself, but 5 to 10 minutes, and maybe on your off days you can extend this. You can turn this into quite a workout on your off days. You can make this 15 or 20 minutes of doing this, just as you can extend anything on your off days to do a little bit more work on them, since we're not doing the main strength workout. In this one, our work period is going to be among two exercises. One is going to be the handstand, and the second is going to be the L-sit or tuck sit. So most of you probably cannot do a freestanding handstand. I'm very spotty at them myself, but that's not the purpose of why I'm having you do the handstand. The reason I'm doing the handstand here is it's going to build some shoulder flexibility and strength. It's going to give you connectedness to your entire body. There are any number of reasons why I think handstands are excellent for general athleticism, if they're done right. So for most of you, the variation I'm going to want you working on is the chest facing the wall handstand. So if you are able to get inverted, what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you go to all fours. You're going to put, maybe have your toes tucked under, and they'll be a few inches, couple inches from the wall. Go ahead, get your hands out in front of you, about shoulder width apart, lock your arms, elbow pits forward. We're going to go ahead and you're going to rock back so that your heels, your knees come off the ground and your heels hit the wall. From here, one leg is going to shoot up. Now, this may be enough for some of you, just trying to work into that position with one foot on the ground. As I do this, I'm trying to shift my weight in to my hands and push my chest towards the wall, so that I want to be trying to get into a handstand position before I ever come up the wall. I don't want to be in a push-up position as I get up the wall, where my head is out in front of my hands. I want the crown of my head pointed as far down as I can. From here, once I get up and I shoot one leg up, I'm going to work on walking up the wall. Now, to begin with, you might just want to stop wherever you happen to be in that all fours position. And for many of you who aren't used to putting any weight in your wrist, that's going to be a great starting point. You may just want to hold this for a few seconds, come back down, maybe do 2 or 3 reps like that before moving on to the second exercise in the couplet. For those of you who have a little bit better balance, better confidence, have the ability to do so, you can start to walk in towards the wall, working towards getting as close to the wall as you can. Later, for more experienced people, you can work on starting to balance off the wall, coming off the wall, and getting into a float where you're actually balancing. But for people who aren't at that point yet, just get used to doing the hold. Few things on the hold once we get there. Number one, let's talk about the shoulders. You want your shoulders being lifted towards your ears. I want you to think earmuffs the whole time you're doing this. You're going to feel some pretty good strength work through the shoulders and the upper back, particularly your traps, if you're doing this properly. Second, let's talk about our spine. I don't want to see a sag through the spine in this manner. We're still trying to keep the tail tucked under. You're trying to fight for that hollow back position where you're crunching your ribs and your pelvis together. You should not feel a strain in your lower back when you're doing this, and if you are, that probably means that arch is forming. You're not engaging your abs. So that hollow back shows up again and again in gymnastic strength. This is one of the positions in which it shows up. So let's make sure to try to fight for that position. Don't get in any closer than your wrists, your flexibility, your balance permit. Don't hold it any longer than your strength or endurance permits you. You should be able to come down out of this in perfect control, without sliding down, without it being a race, without crashing into the ground. Better to err on the conservative side on this one in terms of coming down. So also be very cognizant of what's around you. If you do happen to fall out of this one, make sure it's there's some soft surface there that you can fall on. Even you can get some pillows if you need it. If you're sliding off to the side, make sure you're not crashing into a lamp. Just be really, really conservative on this one if you're not used to it. Handstands are a phenomenal thing for you to do. Do not overlook this one. This is super important. Not everybody can do that though. For those who can't, you can go ahead and get a broom handle. It can be fairly light. It can just be without any weight on it, but if you have something where you can add a little bit of weight to it, and it doesn't take much, it makes it even harder. Here, what I'll have you do is I'll have you lay down on the ground, tuck your chin under, put your forehead to the ground. Get your hands at the same distance that you would put them out as if you were doing a handstand, if you can. Lock the arms out. And again, I'm trying to make earmuffs with my shoulders. And I'm simply going to lift up and hold. All right? This one, because we have a weight that's really, really far at the end of a lever, it doesn't take much weight, not much more than a broom handle, to make this one pretty hard. So this is a really good one for people who can't get into that handstand position for one reason or another. If even this one is too much for you, maybe you're pregnant, for example, and laying on your belly is really uncomfortable, what we can do is we can come into a seated position, take that weight overhead, and try to do the same thing in this seated position. Again, you can add a little bit of weight to it. Doesn't have to be a ton, but you're working on trying to get full flexion of flexion being this overhead of the arms. Again, trying to make earmuffs with your shoulders. That will be the first exercise in the couplet. Again, you're going to go back and forth between whatever handstand variation is appropriate for you and the second exercise in this couplet. Now, if you have parallettes, makes it pretty easy. I'm going to pull my parallettes over here to do these, but you can use yoga blocks, you can use stacked books, you can use a couple chairs if you need to. The next thing we're going to do is another form of compression. In this one, what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead, start in all fours. All right, I'm going off screen a little bit here, but I am now, my shoulder blades are going in the opposite direction. So instead of bringing the shoulders up to the ears, I'm trying to pull those shoulders all the way down and put them in my back pocket over here. I'm trying really hard now to have as long a neck as possible and open up across the chest. From here, a tuck sit is simply lifting those knees up off the ground. An L-sit is extending those legs out. You can extend one leg at a time. You can extend the legs just as far as you can to hold it, whatever works for you. You want to aim for a minimum of, I'd say, 5 seconds in L-sit. Don't try to hold a position that you can't even hold for 5. Better that you hold it for at least 5 seconds. Probably 10 is better. Handstands you can hold significantly longer once you get the feel for them. You will simply go back and forth between the two of these. One thing I will add, if you need a little extra progression on these L or tuck sits, if you do have access to rings in your house, you can go ahead and do those L-sits on your rings for those of you who have the ability to do the ring supports. That is perfectly acceptable and a much harder variation than these, but these are plenty hard in and of themselves. So go ahead and work with that next, and then you'll go into your strength work depending on what day it is. There's an A, a B, a C, and a D workout, and at the very end we'll do some very targeted stretching.